Hey, Kristy, thanks for coming on the podcast today. So glad to have you. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. We're glad to have you on. Today, with Kristy, we'll be talking about her company, HelloCare. She's a co-owner of it, so we're excited to hear all the ins and outs of the company. But to get us started, tell us a little bit more about HelloCare and what you guys are about.
So, HelloCare is an in-home care company. We're based out of McMinnville, Oregon. We started here. The other owner and I were born and raised in this area, both of us being nurses for 15 and over 20 years. Just found a need for in-home care for folks that just really don't want to be in facility, that really have a desire to stay at home in the house that they may have lived in for 60 years. We had the capacity to be able to support them in different ways. And so we developed HelloCare to be able to do that.
Perfect. And what's your background? How did you kind of get into this?
So I was a CNA from the very beginning, graduated high school and almost did a CNA program right off the bat. I went to nursing school. My dad was a paramedic, and the desire to be in the healthcare system was really exciting for me. Like hearing all of his calls every time he came home at the end of the day, it was just exciting. I got to hear about all these cool things, and but my desire was more in what happens to the patient after the call. So that's how my background kind of started. I went to nursing school locally, also just here in Monmouth. And after I graduated, didn't think I would get into senior care, and that was the first place I went. I've done a lot of facility nursing, memory care, skilled nursing, long term care, assisted living, all of the facility settings. I also do mother baby. So I do home births at home. So lots of community care stuff. And when the opportunity came up for Helen to work with Helen, I jumped at it immediately. Getting out of the corporate organization world was definitely needed, and we just had this big desire to do things a little differently, and didn't want to ask permission from the higher ups to be able to make changes, and do positive things in the community.
Nice. I'm very curious, as you made that change away from that corporate life and now, you're
hmm
driving the car. What were some of the first
hmm
changes or things that you wanted to implement in your company?
So right off the bat, I mean, working for a corporate organization, one of the biggest things is always I'm a huge advocate of my staff, and being kind of, under the radar of not being able to do certain things, or you can do it, but you can only do half of it, or you can only do a quarter of it, was really difficult for me because I'm working with these people every day and I see their potential and I see their drive and their motivation. And I just didn't feel like they were very underappreciated, and I wanted to do different things to make them feel like their job was really worth it. And so that was one of the biggest things right off the bat was how we can support the staff. You'll always hear Helen and I say that the caregivers are our customers, because we have to take care of them first in order to expect them to take care of our people.
And that's super, super important, especially in the field that you're in. You take good
hmm
care of your workers. I mean, they're going to be taking good care of your customers.
hmm hmm
That brings up a point. A lot of people, with all these different technologies and methods, it's really interesting to hear how people are getting their customers. What were some of the methods that you guys have tried or maybe using right now to, find more people to take care of?
So we've tried lots of different things. When we first started, it was, pretty basic. It was word of mouth. Word of mouth is that's always going to be the number one marketing point. They say for every one positive experience, somebody tells one person. For every negative experience, somebody tells 10. But word of mouth is a huge thing. And being in a lot of the facilities that we were already in town, it was an easy sell to them because they knew who we were. Which was the same way that we were getting caregivers right off the bat. Lots of people that we had previously worked with found out we had started our own company, and so they cycled back around to us. And then customers the same as the client's customers the same. And so a lot of the facilities really liked working with us because they knew our background, they knew what we were about and what we were trying to do, and so that made it really easy in the beginning. um, that leading into billboard marketing and TV marketing and online platforms, podcasting, website, things like that. We partner with Coin 6 in Portland and we do a lot of TV stuff, and it's really exciting. It's something new and different, and we've had a really, really positive platform that's come from that. And it's something cool. Like the caregivers have gotten interviewed before and a lot of our admin team, and they just get really excited about something. We're used to it. We are the ones that do it all the time, but it's a nice break when somebody else wants to do it. So it's a cool opportunity.
Super interesting. What kind of challenges have you guys seen, within your space specifically in finding new people and, making that fit?
Finding new caregivers in the area that we're in. I mean, we're in a rural area, so eventually, we kind of feel like we've run out a little bit of people, and then they just keep coming back around. So, again, with the word of mouth, I mean, I think we have a lot of our staff that their mom is with us, or their sister works for us, or their aunt works for us, or their friend, and when you refer somebody that is a friend of yours or a family member of yours to the company that you work for, like that's one of the biggest compliments I think that we can have, because that just shows that we are doing the things that we think and say that we're doing. In the outlying areas, in the Portland area, Salem area, things like that, there's a lot more competition. So the competition is different, and we have less competition here. And people see our culture and they're part of us all the time because we're in a small town. Whereas the big cities, they don't know as much who we are. And so we have to prove, that our culture and what we say that we're doing is really for real. And again, that just comes through word of mouth. It comes from the other staff that they run into. It comes from us going into facilities and caregivers overhearing conversations that we're having with clients or family members. And they're like, "Ooh, they say that they're doing this." And so they start being intrigued and they ask questions. And so that has been a really good opportunity for us going into different facilities too.
I mean, there's some really, really good things you guys are doing to bring on new people and keep those people. Like you said, it's small town. It can be really hard with those hiring
Mhm.
practices, especially when I'm imagining you guys are wanting to grow and scale and help even more
Mhm.
people. What are your guys' plans? Where are you guys wanting to go?
Um, I mean, we've talked about this in so many different capacities. At first, it was we're going to stay right here. We're not going to go anywhere else. And now we go 60 miles from the McMinnville office. We have 120 clients, 110 caregivers on our staff. And so it just keeps expanding. We've talked about going into Washington and getting our Washington license and supporting folks up there. We really want to get into the coast area. There's a really big need and a decreased amount of care in that area where we could potentially be supporting over there. But with that just comes a lot of, making sure we have the right people to run all of those areas because we're here, and having care managers that are able to support the different areas. And, that's another thing. We're really big on the staff working in the areas that they live in. We feel like that's important. I'm not a commuting person. I'm not the one that you would find driving to Portland and going to work. And there's just something really cool about the fact that you can take care of the people in the community that you already live in. I think that makes people, try a little harder. You might run into somebody at the farmer's market or at your daughter's ballet recital that you take care of their grandma. And so being able to connect all those dots is just really cool. I mean, I get stopped on the street all the time. I got stopped on Third Street by a gentleman who was outside of a restaurant, and I had a HelloCare shirt on. And oh my gosh, you took care of so and so. And he just starts going off on this whole story. But it's cool because you get to see that in live time. And so that's the other important piece for us is if when we scale into other areas, is having the right people in place that live in that area that are not commuting, that know the community. And it just makes it a lot more successful to be able to do it that way.
Right. And as you grow into those new areas, and you're not only having to find new people to take care of, but new caregivers.
Mhm.
On your side of the things, operations wise, what are some of the challenges you might guys be having right now or foresee in the future?
Um, I mean, it's always going to be a financial challenge for folks. In-home care, taking care of somebody one-on-one it's an expense. But with that comes really good quality care, and we strive ourselves into having a different level of care, a higher level of care. We have higher expectations for our staff and their care abilities. We do a lot of in-house training. We do a lot of continuing education to be able to make sure that they have the abilities to take care of all people. We run our caregivers on a level. They have a level based on their skill, ability, and also their willingness to go to different clients. And having those caregiver and client matches is really important because they feel like they're heard as a caregiver. I don't want to take care of this type of client. And the client knows that they're going to get the right skill level of person. And all of those things encompassing together, from an operations side, it takes a lot to make sure that the matches are correct. And so, yes, it is an expense, but you're getting a red carpet service. And so it is a completely different, being than some of the others.
Hmm. And expanding those your caregiver services, um,
hmm
and you guys doing all those trainings and things. How do you keep consistent across the board that quality?
I mean, that's hard. It's hard. It's hard. The more people you get, the harder it is to manage all those people. But you know, sometimes it's the ones that aren't doing as well that get a little more attention because they need extra things or extra support, or, they're not cutting the mustard, so to speak. And, so we have some of that, and we we don't fail on also reminding the folks that are doing all of the things correct, that are making it to their shifts on time, that are, and so throwing out those extra kudos for all that staff that, you don't hear from very often. And, the what is that? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Some of them aren't squeaky. And so we need to be giving those ones kudos too. We put out a monthly newsletter for all of our staff that just has updates and things that are going on, birthdays, anniversaries, stuff like that. And there's a list in there of all of the people that haven't had any call outs and have clocked in and out on time all month long. And people want their name on the list. And, they know that that's going out to all of our staff and all of our clients. And it's exciting when their name gets to be on the list. And so giving them the kudos and reminding them of who they are and that they're doing a good job, makes all the difference in the world to people.
Wow, I love these little things that you guys are doing to boost the culture.
hmm
Is there anything you guys are wanting to, push towards or lean towards, like going into the future? Do you have any other desires or plans for that?
I mean, we're always reinventing different things or inventing new things. We started most recently just a couple of months ago when we onboard new staff, finding out what their favorite things are. What kind of coffee do they like to drink? What kind of chocolate do they like, or not like? But different things. So that, in fact, we just had somebody just this last week that the staffing person got somebody last minute to cover, very last minute. She was there in like less than 30 minutes. And on her way to the office, she stopped by and got a coffee, and her favorite snack was popcorn. And she dropped it off at the client's home to say thank you. And so those little tiny things make such a huge difference for people. We have, different logoed shirts that we have, and we hand those out in onboarding so that they get to wear their own swag. And we have custom scrubs that we give them. They get extra pairs after they've been with us for so long. We have anniversary gifts, we have birthday presents. I mean, we try to really make them feel like, they're part of a family and that we're reaching out on a regular basis. We have one staff member in our admin team that her entire job is just to communicate with the caregivers, check in with them. How are you doing? Do you need any support? I see that you've been with so and so a lot. Like, do you have any updates for their care plan? Getting their opinions about what they're doing and just listening to them is hands down one of the best things that you can be doing for them.
Super cool. And talking about the caregiver side, now looking at more of those people that you're taking care of. I
hmm
feel like a lot of the industry is changing in different ways. What types of things have you
hmm
seen that people are expecting more, expecting less in that regard?
It's interesting actually because over the last couple of years, one of the things that we've noticed is that the acuity level of care for folks is getting higher and higher. They're realizing that there's a lot more things that they could have done at home, that they don't have to go to facility for, that they don't need to be in the hospital for. And so they're taking advantage of that because it's one less thing. It's like the guy that comes to your driveway and changes your windshield. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Why would you go someplace if you didn't have to? And so, they're finding out that they have an IV for 2 weeks and we can do that at their house. They don't have to go to the hospital every day for 2 weeks. And so anything that can get them to stay at home. And so, if anything, we've just noticed that our capacity and our ability to do advanced services for folks is just growing all the time because we have the nursing power and the capability to be able to do that. And we can delegate to the staff certain things. We can teach certain tasks. We can oversee things that the caregivers are doing, and they get to learn new skills. It's not the same thing. They're not just taking someone to the grocery store every day. They might get to do wound care and, do different kinds of things that they didn't think that they would get to do in a home setting. And the clients get the opportunity to be able to stay at home. They get the one-on-one service, the red carpet, being able to have a nurse come out to their house and hook up their IV, or, take care of their catheter. We've done, cancer treatments at home. I mean, there's been a lot of things over the years that we've just continued to scale up because we have the capacity for that.
Wow. So would you say that a big aspect is education, for them, even saying, hey, here's what we do, here's what we can do. And you
Mhm.
guys try to make it as comfortable as possible for them, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, and it's unbelievable the things, and we, because we do it all the time, we don't always realize that people don't know that those things can happen at home. It's like the client who's bedridden but needs a set of labs drawn, and they need blood work, and they can't get to the hospital, or they can't get to the doctor's office, and I can tell them, "Oh, I can just come over to your house and do that." And they're like, "What? That is a thing?" And so being able to open the doors to some of those things and just reminding them of all the additional things, like we do grocery delivery, we have medical supplies we can ship to their house. Like if folks, have incontinence products or things like that, we can have them directly shipped to their house on a regular basis, as opposed to using Amazon or having to drive to Walgreens. So all of those things that, it's when we see the need of the client that it's something that we don't offer, we just try to find a way to how we can offer it. For a long time, we had clients that all they needed was showers. I just need somebody to come shower me 2 times a week. And that wasn't a service that we offered. We had a minimum number of hours that we had to be there, and the need just kept growing for that. And so we have a line item on our contract now that is literally just somebody coming to the house 2 times a week to give a shower, because that was a need. And so we just have the ability to be able to accommodate around all that.
And like, you guys do so many things where it seems like once you start helping these people, they probably love you guys. I mean, you're bringing them popcorn and things, like
Yeah.
all these things happening. Well, there's still people still experience turnover. Maybe things
hmm
happen. What do you guys do to try to keep helping these people and providing that care you're providing?
hmm So our turnover rate is really low. Standard for healthcare, or work actually considered non-healthcare, but around that same capacity is about 57%. We sit right about 14. So there is a huge difference in our turnover rate compared to the national, and a lot of that just comes from all these retention tactics. Letting people, allowing them to say what they need, and being able to help them find a solution. We had someone just recently that they had a child with some medical issues, and they were going to come off the schedule because they needed to be attendants to doctor's appointments on a regular basis. And instead of losing them as a caregiver, we just offered them to work on the weekends instead. You're available then for your doctor's visits all week long. You can just work on the weekends. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that." And so being able to kind of meet them where they are and try to help them find solutions for their just regular day-to-day life things helps their retention a lot.
Interesting. Now, you guys have all these people you're working with. You said you currently are helping out about 120 people.
hmm
As you guys expand into new areas, not only onboarding those people and seeing what they need is difficult, but a lot of companies often find difficult the organization aspects of it. Keeping
hmm
track of all those things. I'm guessing that's more under your side of things. How do you see that playing out? How do you, then again, keep the consistency in the organization going across a growing company?
hmm Yep. So amongst our admin team, we have care managers. So there's it's the two of us at the top, and then we have a group of administrative staff. And within those people, there's care managers for different areas, and their job is to do what we do, except for their own staff, for their own clients. And so we've set regions of, demographical areas for whether it be zip code or county, depending on the area. And the care manager is responsible for all the staff in that area, all the clients in that area, doing the intakes, getting contracts, doing all the things encompassing managing the clients, which also includes managing the staff. And so when they're grouped out into smaller groups, it makes it a little easier to be able to check in with them. So I manage a portion of those. Helen manages a portion of those. So it breaks up our workload. to be able to be available to check in to, oh, you're having this staffing crisis. How can I help you? Instead of 15 other people coming and saying the exact same thing. So being able to break it up in half is really helpful because we can, work with each other, and maybe I have more capacity on that end. It's just like jumping on a podcast when somebody has to go take care of a client instead. So we work really hard to balance each other out, and giving the caregivers the autonomy of being able to manage their clients and their caregivers is really big for them. They don't want to be micromanaged, but they want the support available if they need it. And we've allowed them a lot of autonomy to be able to do the things that they feel that they're confident in doing and comfortable in doing. And then also being able to come and say, I don't really know how to do this, or I think I do. Can you just reassure me that I'm doing the right thing? And so that's really exciting because, training people to come up from a caregiver to come into an administrative position is really a huge passion of mine, and being able to see their level of confidence change and their excitement when they get to do something new it's really cool.
That's super, super cool. With this growing industry, there's a lot of people, maybe wanting to be a caregiver or wanting to find a company, like your guys's, who's really making a change, making an impact.
Hmm.
I guess what would you be your advice for people trying to get into this field? What do they need? Personality wise and things, and what are some things they need to look out for?
Really, they just need to care. A lot of our people that come on, even if they have no experience, they might have taken care of their grandma at home for 2 weeks before she passed away. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh my gosh, I really love this. I think I could be a caregiver. Having that level of compassion and empathy for other people, and really having a desire to take care of other people. All the skills can be trained, but those things inside your core are things that you either have or you don't have. And if we have people that come and are just like, oh my gosh, I just can't wait to take care of people, I can train you skills all day long if you have the desire to take care of people. And so that's really, what we look for when we're talking to people. This isn't just a job. We are going into people's homes. We're sitting with them on their couch. We're eating lunch with them. We're helping them shower with all of their personal things. We're making sure they have food in the fridge. Like, I mean, it's a relationship that you're developing with people. And if folks come in and they have the compassion to do that, then we're all about it.
It's super. I mean, it's an amazing job, but probably pretty intensive, right? I mean, do these people, do your
Hmm.
characters, are they get pretty tired with things? Are they, running back and forth? Are they having fun?
Yeah, I mean, some of them, it's amazing to me. Like, I mean, I guess, looking back 15 years ago when I first graduated nursing school, like I probably wanted to work 60 hours a week. I don't have the desire to do that anymore. But some of them, they just keep going and going and going. Like, yeah, sure, I'll pick up that. I'll help with this person. I'll help this person. Seeing their capacity to be able to do that, but, focusing on burnout and self-care is really big for us. Our HR person and also our communications director, the one I was telling you about, that's one of the big things they talk about is like, I know that you want to do all these things, but like, what are you doing for yourself? And reminding them that self-care is okay. Taking a break is okay. Taking a day off is okay. And getting them to feel okay about having burnout and coming to us and honestly saying like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I got to take a couple days off. I'm just exhausted, or this particular client was really difficult, and can I come off of them a couple of days and have a difficult client a couple of days to kind of balance it out. Our staffing coordinator is really awesome about talking through that with them and making sure that they're not putting them with a client that has super high needs that is going to increase that burnout rate.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today to give us some super interesting insights and not only the industry, but what you guys are doing. I
Yeah.
guess if someone's in the area, or I mean, they love you guys enough, they want to move out to you guys. What's kind of the process to become a caregiver for you guys?
Yeah, super easy. I mean, we vet a lot of our caregivers off of Indeed, but also you can apply right on our website. There's an application, and it's at 11260.accesscare.com. And they can get right onto the website and apply. And our HR director is looking out for those every day.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you again for so much for your time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to check out their website, check out what they're doing. spread the word. As she said, the word of mouth is definitely the way to go when it comes to
Yep.
get the word out. So thank you, everyone, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.